Hello, everyone. Welcome back. And also welcome everybody from Miss Clarissa Chic's channel. Clarissa, feel free to look around. Say hello if you like.
Hi, everyone.
And we just got finished discussing the Russian Dyatlov Pass incident. And now we're going to discuss the American version. Now, this is also known as the Yuba City Boys incident. And there are a lot of similarities later on in the video. I am going to discuss what make these so similar. But for right now, you guys are ready. You know how I do it. So let's begin. Now, what I would like to do in this situation is go ahead and discuss all five members of the party. And this is very, very important between what's listed and paying attention to what's not listed. This is a story about five men with mental disabilities that become lost in the snow. And a lot of people key in on their mental disability. So first we have Gary Mathis. Now Gary Mathis served in the military and was discharged in 1973, where he was prescribed medication after a traumatic breakdown, and he was diagnosed with schizophrenia. You need to pay attention to that. Gary Mathis was actually diagnosed. Ted Weir was the oldest of the five men, and he was considered by his family and friends to be slow. He was best friends with a short 5'9" guy by the name of Jack Hewitt. Now, Jack Hewitt had social issues to where he would freeze up and wouldn't be able to talk around anyone. But if he knew you and he liked you, he was able to speak just fine. His personality was known to be very cheerful, as a matter of fact. Jack McDruger served in the military. He wasn't diagnosed with anything, but he was considered again, like Ted Weir, to be slow. This is 1978, you guys. This incident started on February the 24th, 1978 to be exact. So we have three men that's considered by their friends and neighbors to be considered slow. But Jack McDruger served in the military, and he also had a driver's license, and he also had a Montego that he loved driving a lot, and this is the car that the men will be in when they become lost. Last but not least, we have Bill Sterling, who's considered to have a mind of a child. He rarely left the house, but he received phone calls all the time through Ted Weir. Seems that Ted Weir seems to be the nucleus or the glue of this group, as he's best friends with Jack Hewitt. He's talking to the other men. Honestly, I'm jealous of these guys. They had a bond that connected all of them together, and that bond was basketball. Take us, for instance. We have a bond that you guys come and subscribe to my channel over crime. As we have this bond over crime, we don't really hang out together. We don't talk. How many of you guys talk to people about crime? How many of you all have five friends that you connect through one thing and you travel around the world with? So this is awesome. While everybody's considered them to have some mental weakness, they found something that they love, and other people love it enough to go around the country and share it together. They were known as the Gateway Gators. That's their basketball team, and they were quite good. As a matter of fact, they won many tournaments, and this was leading up to their final tournament. If they won this tournament in Chico, California, then they go on to play in the actual Paralympics and then go on to Los Angeles. So this was a big deal coming up, and this tournament was to be on February 25th of 1978. This is where there's a little bit dispute amongst people that know the story. Why would you let five adult men with known mental disabilities travel a far distance away without anyone there who people consider to be normal? Well, there's just several ways that people deal with situations like this, such as someone having a mental disability. Some are there for their every need, and some let them go out in the world as what we consider to be normal and learn their own way around. One of the best examples of this that I've seen was Ray Charles. Ray Charles' mom, upon learning that he was blind, she didn't give him a cane. She didn't give him glasses. She didn't treat him differently. She treated him just like an average kid. And I'm sure Ray Charles fell a lot, got a lot of bumps and a lot of bruises, But he's one of the few blind men in history that walked around as if he didn't have a disability. And he got around quite well. So you can't really look at how someone does something. There are many different ways to tackle it, and I like this way. This is awesome. Let people live and choose whatever way they want to do. And through this way, these guys, they got to play basketball. They got to go hang out with their friends. A lot of people who we put in these different corners of society or corners of our life, they don't really find someone that they connect to that's just like them. So for these reasons, again, I'm jealous of these guys. Now, there were witnesses that saw them at the actual tournament in Chico, California on February the 25th. So we know for a fact that they made it there. And there was also a witness that saw the Montego pull out and saw the guys leave. So we know that they left. And this is where things take sort of a wrong turn. For unknown reasons, they decided to go up a mountainous road called the Plumas National Forest. This road does not lead back to their home. It's not a shortcut to get home. They'd never been on this road before. Yet they went up this road. If we stick to just the facts from this point on, they had several maps in the car. All of the maps were in the glove compartment. They had a quarter tank of gas, which was more than enough to get home. There was no mechanical failure to the car. The car was found on the side of the road, and four of the men's bodies were found about 20 miles away, and one of the men was never to be seen again.
Well, I guess the one thing I can't wrap my head around is why did they even get out of the car in the first place?
I'm going to be honest, I have no idea why they got out of the car.
I do have a theory, John, but I think we might have come to the same conclusion on this one.
About how they died? I mean, I'm sure I know how they died. I don't want to do it like you did on your channel, though. You let me say my little part, and you come behind with your little stove thing. Let's do it a little bit different here. How about on the count of three? On the count of three, we both say how we think they passed away. Ready?
Sure, I guess we can give that a try. Okay, let's go. 1, 2, 3. Exposure. Ha! I knew it. Well, since we both agree on it being exposure, will you go into a little bit more detail?
There was a small cabin about 20 miles away. Inside of that cabin, the body of Tom Weir was found wrapped in covers, laying in the bed. The length of his beard said he'd been there for about 8 weeks. He had frostbite and he had on no shoes. But it gets even more interesting. Nearby, they found Army C rations that were eaten. It gets even more weirder. In an unlocked cabin, they found dehydrated food that was enough to feed a group of people for an entire year. They also found a fireplace, a box of matches, and plenty of paperback books to burn. If that was too complex, they found a propane tank as well. And this also could have provided additional heat. A couple of miles away, the bones of Bill Sterling was found. Now, these bones were scattered about 50 feet and clearly eaten by animals. Jack McDougal was found 11 miles away. The flesh was ripped from his right arm as he was dragged to a stream, and he was clutching his favorite watch. Once 3 of the 5 men's bodies were found, news broke. This became a big headline, big story. This tempted Jack Hewitt Sr. to join the search party. He found his son's backbone and clothes nearby, which pretty much confirmed he found the body of his own son. Those were the 4 of the 5 men that were found. Gary was never heard from, or any trace of him was ever found again. I just think that it's easy to conclude that the men had a mental condition and therefore they didn't know what they were doing. That's the easy route to take. But there are other options to look at here that make this even more mysterious. As I stated earlier, if you go by facts, only one person was diagnosed with a mental illness, and that was from schizophrenia. And that person who was diagnosed with this was in the military. They had a driver's license. They wasn't too far gone off. If anything, they may have a bout of anger, but it showed nothing that they weren't mentally able to deal with a situation like this. We are living in 2019. This was 1978. 1978, they didn't have the expertise that we have on mental illness. And before I even say my little theories, I am no professional. If someone in the audience or someone in the comment section know more than me, by all means listen to them. I just say my uneducated opinion. But it just appears to me that it's social issues that most of these men had, and most of the time that leads to some form of autism on a different spectrums of autism. So these are social issues. Although they may have had social issues, they're with people that they loved and got along with pretty well. And one of the reasons I say social issues, I mean, look at Jack Hewitt. Jack Hewitt gets around people, he freezes up. He gets around someone he's comfortable with, he's the life of the party. So I don't know how strongly social issues would come into play in a situation like this. Because when people tell this story, they talk as if 5 handicapped men went driving around and in the woods and got lost. But the only thing I see is schizophrenia and social issues. Now I can show you how social issues could come into play. I say these 5 men left that car for some unknown reason. They went 20 miles down and they saw that cabin. And then Ted Weir, he began the first one to start suffering from the ailments of the cold. So they decided to put him and wrap him in sheets. You think the first thought is, when you're in bed, you're supposed to have your shoes off. Not thinking, okay, you are supposed to have your shoes off, but in this situation, you're freezing. Keep your shoes on. So they take his shoes off. He quickly succumbs to the elements and he dies. Panic ensues. Under normal conditions, these are your friends who you love and you stick together with. But once panic ensues, you lose the little hope of socialization that you had. And now it's every man for himself, so they run out of that. All 4 men run out of that cabin and they run their own separate ways, having these social issues, and they quickly die from the elements. And there are other theories, and there are other things we haven't discussed. At 2 a.m., a guy by the name of Jack Jones was driving a Beetle. He pulled over to the side of the road having a mild heart attack. Looked out of his window, he saw a woman with a baby. When he saw the woman with the baby, he saw men behind her as well too. When he saw the men behind her, they scattered and ran. When he asked for help, he woke up the next morning, and when he woke up the next morning, he saw their vehicle. In 2017, just 2 years ago, Jack Hewitt's sister-in-law came out and said that her brother saw men harassing a girl at the basketball game. They saw Gary Mathis being thrown over a cliff, and when he was thrown over a cliff, he died. The other men panicked and ran away. That was another theory. You choose. You tell me. I'm interested in this case. These cases are similar because they both happened in February. They both involve people in a warm environment, such as the car in America or the tent in Russia. And they left, and we don't know why they left. I call these agnostic mysteries. They're unknowable. They will never be known, no matter how much we guess. And I love that about these situations because we can come up with our own ideas and it just keeps you talking. It keeps you interested. But again, we will never know what happened. I want to thank Clarissa Chic for joining us today.
Thanks, Sean. That was really interesting. And a big thank you to your audience for letting me hang out with you guys.
Her information will be in the description of the video. Please go ahead and subscribe to her channel. Subscribe to my channel as well. And you guys know my slogan. Don't kill, eat a sandwich, and I will see you next time.